Welcome back. I'm Alfred Lambremont Weber, and coming to us from Ecuador is Sienna Lea, founder of Multiversity.org, co-panelist with Abort 5G Stop Directed Energy Weapons, master teacher of shadow synthesis, author of Stealing the Moon, with a new edition coming for the new introduction or overview or knowledge direct from our living mother, Gaia. And to some, Gaia is the term that drives them crazy. That's called Transforming the Fierce Feminine Shadow as an Act of Sacred Global Alchemy. Now, Sienna, first of all, I just want to express my appreciation for you and Anais and the work that you've done bringing together the panel to raise awareness on the importance of aborting 5G and stopping directed energy weapons and stopping the echo that is echoing behind my voice.
Still it is?
Yeah, we won't stop recording, but if you could lower your microphone just a bit, that's how we did it.
Oh, on Zoom. Okay, give me a moment and I will get right on that, Alfred. And sorry for the inconvenience.
No, that's fine. Listen, it's a long way from Canada to Ecuador, let me tell you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I remember my visit to Quito very, very well.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay, and I was just saying that I really appreciate the work that you and Anais are doing, bringing together the panel and the initiative to abort 5G and block directed energy weapons. Our panel on June 23rd, 24th, 2018, which brought all of these initiatives. People can go to Sienna Lea's websites, which we'll list, and also to peaceandspace.org. It's vital that we stop these genocidal frequencies from being deployed in another tomfoolery way. You know, they're just trying to do PSYOP, disinformation stuff that we, from the universal forces, can blow away, and we're doing, but it's going to be a tough haul. But what we're here today really is to honor the author and tremendous master healer that Sienna Lea is. And I just finished reading the introduction to her new chapter and a lengthy excerpt, Transforming the Fierce Feminine Shadow as an Act of Sacred Alchemy. And it gets into all of the issues surrounding the return of the goddess, the return of the divine feminine. We were engaged in that dialogue in a program that Anais was listening to with Laura Eisenhower and Patty Greer on News Evolution at TrueTube, and all of this spillover that bringing the goddess in, up into vision brings, which it triggers. Love triggers its exact opposite in a way. And so all of a sudden the goddess became Semiramis. It became the Statue of Liberty, which is like the goddess of Mystery Babylon, the world war, disease, crime, and poverty empire, right? That's what it's produced for since,
Mhm.
Since 1871, when they founded the District of Columbia as the world arms machine for the Vatican and the City of London. We had World War I, World War II. They're trying to do World War III now. And now they're trying to do a planetary extermination beyond 5G. Now, as you so aptly said, the divine feminine is the new salvation meme, but underneath that lurks the shadow of the dark queen. So that, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to turn it over to Sienna Lea. Sienna, would you want to read this chapter because it's so deep and articulate? Would that be something?
I would love to do that. I'd like
Okay.
to give a little bit of a contextualization preamble, a little bit, and then not long, uh, Alfred. And thank you for having me on your show. I'm a huge fan of yours, and I have great respect for what you're doing now with Laura Eisenhower and Patty Greer. That the bringing the level of fearless exposing of the satanic and Luciferian agendas, and we really need those models. We really need to know we can do that and survive that, and we need to find the strength within to join you on a massive level. Yesterday we need to do this now. I just feel like I'm in the most amazing company, um, with people that have risked everything to embody their authentic truth. Okay, so my journey has been to excavate the dark feminine in me. I say that I'm a recovering dark sister because I am. My book is about that recovery, is about exposing the depths of a darkness that I carried all the way back to Akhenaten and Nefertiti in Egypt. Now, the first edition of that book, which I told you the publisher was all but killed and it was sabotaged in many ways, and I haven't done anything with it in a decade. And now I'm repurposing it and creating the audio book because with my connection to Gaia, our mother planet, she wants this information out. So I was repurposing the book, doing the audio book, and she came to me and said, I want you to add the fierce feminine and be very clear, because mainly my book is more about how women have been taken down by the patriarchy and the insanity and rage and pain that we carry. And it's a very deep expose of that. And a woman psychologist who realizes that there is a part of her that is predatory. She's in the beginning of Stealing the Moon, the psychologist, Dr. Natalie Stern, is helping her patient, a psychotic, in a mental health facility in New Zealand, where I was, to recover from his psychosis without drugs, which was a method I learned from Aisha Love, who was my mentor for many years, and Shimura in the book. Anyway, um, so right at the moment when her love and her care, and she's creating the sacred field around him, and she's helping him heal and building that connection, he returns for the first time in his life to coherency. And then she feels an energy rise up like a fiery beast starving for eons that wants to devour him. And she's so horrified that she shuts down her practice. He goes back into his psychosis. The hospital builds down. A lot of this is from real information. My book is creative nonfiction. Everything in there happened, but I've turned it into a story like the Celestine prophecy. So she takes herself into a Sedona-like place, and she takes herself back through her personal unconscious for all her trauma and wounding to Egypt. And Nefertiti comes to her and says, I have what you're looking for, because she wants to know the origin of the evil that lives inside her. And so she has this relationship multidimensionally with Nefertiti. And she sees what really happened back in that era that solidified the Atan and the worship of the one father, false like God, that then birthed all this patriarchal meme that we know on the top is the off-world imposition and the complete lockdown, enslavement, and now genocide of humanity. So it's a history of that, okay? And it's a history of how the feminine was the target for that. And the earth is the target for that. And all things of the heart and of our being and of our kindness and gentility are the target for this vicious takedown. But there's another piece, and that piece is what happened to the feminine after, thousands and thousands of years of being minimalized, really a half a hiccup away from being slaves, women. You either were a housewife or a prostitute. There weren't any other job descriptions for a very long time, or a slave. So what happened to this huge energy of the divine feminine through all of these years of abuse, of torture, of enslavement and suppression? And that's a lot of the work that I do in shadow synthesis. I hold containers for, men come too, because as you know, men have their being, their feminine, their feelings, it's been suppressed in men as well. But the container is a feminine container of loving care, and I teach people how to shadow dive and excavate the personal and the collective unconscious, and break the hold of these Dracos and Archons and non-source based beings that have been vampirizing and harvesting all this suppressed energy. And also my work systematically helps people themselves to go through and pull out the interference and the implants and heal the wounded, dissociated, forbidden parts of their psyche. Because, and I'm going to get to the reading piece, but I have to sort of give a little background here. As we know, there was a Holocaust against the feminine for 1,000 years. And many of my students, I don't call them patients, I don't even call them clients, I call them students, because we're all in this together, and they teach me as well. And many of them are excavating the past lives in the Inquisition. The level of takedown there was so horrific. They were not just burnt at the stake, but they had to watch their children being sodomized and satanically taken before they died, and then locked into cages where those memories would reverberate inside of them until they just, screamed out that I will never show up as who I am ever again, with my gifts, with my psychic capacity, with my ability to heal, with my ability to be connected to the planet. So when these women are, they're holding, the starfire, they're holding the divine spark to regenerate and bring intelligence and connection to this whole mess that we've been in. And so the dark side made it that they will never return. So we have to hold the field for one another as we go through this incredible pain and horror and grief of what we've been through. And it's totally doable because Gaia and Source are there to support us every inch of the way. So that's what I'm doing with shadow synthesis. The big piece that is very difficult to face, hard to admit, hard to come out of denial about, is that over all these years of horrific trauma-based mind control, torture, and massive abuse and suppression, the feminine's pretty pissed. She's very, very angry. And this deity, there's a hive mind called the female collective. We used to work on it in transformational sessions in around the world with Aisha Love. She surfaced, and she's living off of this hatred. And so, and she's at the top of the entire pyramid. And so this piece, I'm going to read this piece now that fleshes it out in fairly succinct detail. Okay, is that clear? Have I left anything out? All right, it's 5 pages. So, pull up a chair, get your coffee or your popcorn, and hold on to yourself. This is intense, but it's the time of the great revealing, and we need to face everything. And if there's something hiding in the shadows that we just can't stomach, We need to grow up here and find a way to stomach it, because we are the ones who can transform this. But if we don't know what it is, she's going to win, and she has every intention of doing so. Okay, so this piece is part of the second edition of Stealing the Moon, out soon. You can order your copy on my website. Sorry, gotta do that. Transforming the Fierce Feminine Shadow as an Act of Sacred Global Alchemy. So the Dalai Lama has said that it is Western women who will save our world. Well, that may be the case, but not until we face and transmute our personal and our collective fierce feminine shadow. So how did the feminine turn fierce? Women have a powerful psychic, emotional, spiritual, divine force. Our heart soul essence has vast untapped potential to lead. We give birth and foster life, which has kept our ability to connect and nurture alive. Women are deeply tied to nature and all organic life. Allowed to express our inner wisdom, we offer solution. Our solutions have not gained traction for thousands of years. We've had to hide and follow the orders of our controllers or perish. Our wisdom is being called out now, as it is based on energetic partnership with Gaia, our mother planet. In its original, pure, love-based form, our feminine energy seeks to create, nurture, and protect life. However, our feminine energy has become distorted through millenniums of suppression, abuse, and patriarchal domination. Due to all of this trauma and pain, the feminine has an aspect that has become wrathful, hateful, and destructive. This distorted feminine energy is our fierce feminine shadow, and it needs to be processed and transformed, or else the Dark Queen will harness it to her own ends. So who is the Dark Queen, and what makes women vulnerable to do her bidding? 14 years ago, when the first edition of this book was published, I did not grasp the power of the Dark Queen. I mainly focused on the patriarchy. My mistake. There is a piece missing, a big piece, and I need to set the record straight. It has been a well-kept secret that at the top of the patriarchal hierarchy, it is not a male that sits on the throne, but a female, the Dark Queen. It was all laid down long ago. Men were to lead, but behind the veil, the spiteful, jealous, all-consuming Dark Queen would rule over them. For generations, she has been permitting men to suppress women and live off their trapped energy as fuel, all the way back to ancient Egypt. As she is not source-based due to choices that broke her connection with life, we are the only source of energy she has. The fierce feminine shadow, all of women's unprocessed rage and wounding, fuels the power-mad queen and her men. For countless generations, there has been a holocaust against women. The feminine and our mother planet. The feminine has been targeted, then forced to obey or be severely punished. Many deeply spiritual healers have been murdered in this process. Our deep wounding from all of these past life experiences have made us vulnerable to enormous rage. This ferocity leaves us open for being manipulated by the Dark Queen, the feminine controller, who I'm also calling Queen Bitch. That's a term I share with George Kavasalis, by the way. We've shared notes on this many times. The Dark Queen's plan. Queen Bitch plans to manipulate our fierce feminine shadow to bring men down by making them impotent and redundant. And then she is moving to put her women in full spectrum dominance. She wants women motivated by hate to rise, cloaked in the reinvention of a woman's movement that espouses peace, freedom, and equality for women. She slithers beneath the surface, activating unconscious wounding, pushing us to complete the full takedown of men and each other, while harnessing our best conscious intentions for her own use. Don't get me wrong, women must and are speaking up about the abuse, especially sexual abuse, no more now more than ever. This is a good thing and needs to happen. However, the dark side is masterful at pushing our buttons and using the old but effective divide and conquer strategy. It is happening now, massively, worldwide. If we use our discernment and do not let the unprocessed rage and pain push us covertly in the wrong direction, we have an opportunity as never before. The Dark Queen also seeks to block us from moving higher into sacred union of the genders. The union of divine masculine and feminine is the alchemical mix that will propel us out of the construct, aligning with our planetary mother's awakening and correction, according to the Gnostic texts. Sacred union is key. Queen Bitch is on the warpath to never let it happen. She wants to keep the genders in conflict because the pain created from this ongoing war is a grand buffet for the Dark Queen and the construct controllers. The Dark Queen's plan is now rolling out, and we are predominantly once again being played because we feel in our guts that it is women's time to lead, and it is. But we need to wake up. Women will be taking the lead in the next round, one way or the other. But will it be as the dominators of men or in loving co-creation with them? Rise of the matriarchy. It appears that the male paradigm of domination is breaking down. None of the systems work. It is in slow motion collapse. But the Dark Queen and her minion controllers are not prepared to give up their stranglehold on us just yet. No way. Women have been starved of power for a long time, and power-starved people have a very hard time not wanting power, even if it stinks with criminality and corruption. The controllers indeed intend for this power deprivation and all of our feminine wounding to be their last-ditch hope for us to erupt in distortion so the next generation can be ruled by their brand of matriarchy. Hell has no fury like a woman scorned, and the controllers know it. They have been strategically engineering this next step as their ace in the hole for a long time. The controllers intend to lock us down for good under the fist of unconsciously motivated, wrathful women and the men who are addicted to their grasp. As women are lifted into positions of power, we must transmute our pain from eons of suppression. If we do not, we'll be ruled by the fierce feminine shadow and be playing right into their hands. Their matriarchy of shadow-ruled women will be crueler than what we have previously endured under the patriarchy. The oppressed become more ferocious than their oppressors. Just look at history. Unless we transmute our feminine shadow, our actions will inevitably reflect our wounding, making us more shut down and heartless than our oppressors. This is the hidden agenda moving into place right now. On the surface, it looks like we are exposing the underbelly of the patriarchy, with pedophilia rings being uncovered, Hollywood abusers being jailed, and the likes. This is fantastic development, as so many innocent women and children have been violated. But and men and boys. But keep your eyes wide open. Let us not be duped yet again and succumb to their bait and switch tactics. Calling out the fierce feminine shadow. Our feminine shadow is disowned and denied. It is incredibly politically incorrect to call out women. How could we make such accusations against half of humanity? The half that has been suppressed and forced to support the agendas of power and domination, or be severely punished or even killed? We can because we must. The fierce feminine shadow is a force we must face and alchemize. Otherwise, we are just pawns in the hands of the power mad yet again. Will we find the courage and humility to own it from within? Or will we demand justice from outside ourselves only, projecting our shadows onto those who have enslaved and tortured us, making us focus on exposing only them and taking them down without owning the part we carry within? I am not saying that standing up to demand justice is a bad thing. We must also do this. It is a necessary and urgent step, but it cannot take the place of owning our feminine rage, reactivity, terror, and massive hurt. After ages of being victims, we are sitting ducks to become the next predators. It has been building up for a long, long time. It is at our doorstep. To lead the ship to a better future, we must face our feminine shadow. How did women, the mothers of men, permit male genital mutilation, circumcision, and other practices that cut men off from the sensations that could keep them connected to organic life? Many mothers have spoiled their sons with a false sense of entitlement, breeding generations of men that treat women as second-class citizens. The macho theme is alive and well, certainly not in every case, but millions of men right now are being shut down from feeling, leaving them no option but to live between ego inflation and deflation at the expense of their families and themselves. Their ego-driven behaviors are too often self-serving. They are too often insensitive peacocks strutting about, dumbed down, asleep workers in a system that only uses them. They get thrown the bone of delusion that they are running the show. But in fact, the Dark Queen is laughing all the way to the bank, victorious from behind the scenes. Owning our part in it all. While there has been a Holocaust against the feminine, we have also contributed to maintaining our own enslavement. A large portion of women are still playing it safe, living out agreements with the controllers that we do not even know we have made. Unconsciously, many women abdicate their power, living out the roles that are on offer in silent complicity. As long as we continue in this fashion, we have zero authentic power available to co-create our own destiny. We have also been dutiful masochists, hiding our sadistic side. Women have covertly run a lot of the show, but we had to be clever and look like we were not in charge, right? As men became more and more neutered, women made sure that men's egos were tended to so that they did not catch wind of the maneuver. Mystification has been used as a tool, lies posing as truth. Men had to be strong and powerful at work to support the family. Men have been encouraged and programmed to work and work and work. Women kept their mouths shut and used covert means to survive and lead stealthily. Most of this was done unconsciously. This dynamic cut us all off from connection and any way to get our authentic needs met. And all this just created more frustration to harvest. Brilliant idea, but it's time we woke up. It's time we stop living out the prime directive of hatred, being held with the iron fist of Queen Bitch. It is time to take her off her throne. Yes, there needs to be more women leading, and they need to be leading from their wholeness with love, care, and deep responsibility for life. Female wounding and their subsequent hatred is also sabotaging child rearing, not giving our babies the love and tender touch required to shift the tsunami of generational abuse. It is now running rampant, a wildfire out of control. But can we still permit our children to go to how? Can we still permit our children to go to schools that are indoctrination tanks filled with lies? How can we allow them to be vaccinated with fluids that have toxic substances which can damage their minds and bodies for a lifetime? How can we let them be saturated by EMF bombardment when there is clear research such saturation is creating a plethora of dysfunction and DNA breakdown? We need to snap out of it. Additionally, men have been strategically neutered for a good while. Many wounded men live in unconscious insecurity, terrified and ashamed to be men, more than they will admit, even to themselves. We have attacked their sensitivity and robbed them of the ability to create shared connection. Men have been mind-heart controlled via trauma too. As a result, men generally cannot feel their emotions in order to respond to the needs of the people closest to them by design. This creates the loop of women finding men emotionally unavailable, fueling their pain, loss, and abandonment. This leads to deep pain, covered by massive rage. The imposition has not just wounded women. It has confused, disempowered, neutered, and created terror in both sexes and our children. I know all this is beyond unfathomable and obscene to realize and own, but it is true and needs to be faced. Please consider what I am saying. All of women's unprocessed rage and wounding fuels the Dark Queen and her minions and keeps us caught in their artificial construct of separation, conflict, and suffering. Our redemption is to call it, feel it, own it, and finally set ourselves free to be the loving, dynamic, fully empowered people we truly have the potential to be. These new humans that Alfred talks about. What path will we choose? A great shift is needed. We feel it, sense it, we hope for it. Yet no matter what we do, it always seems just out of reach. On a global level, suffering, fear, scarcity, lack, abuse, neglect, and misery still largely rule. We are carrying within us the frequencies of our global enslavement. It vibrates in our very DNA. Memories of trauma through ancestral lines, archetypal inheritance, and the ongoing assaults push and pulse from within, triggering core wounds and beliefs held within our unconscious, subconscious minds. And all of the interference, targeting, implants, and entities that are attached to it. But we also have our infinite source flame, passionately leading us out of all of this. The impulse to live true to organic life is alive within us, even now. It can and will find a clear path if we clear the shadows that block that flame from growing brighter. We are needed right now so urgently to grow, heal, and mature into divine wisdom keepers who can be passionate and compassionate facilitators and hold space for reconciliation and healing. Men need to be loved and encouraged to discover their manliness, redefining and repurposing it in their own sovereign realignment. Polarity is not serving anyone. It has only created more war, division, mistrust, and separation, again, by design. Pointing our fingers at one another only delays the healing process. But without the healing journey to alchemize the eons of suffering we carry, how can we act from wholeness or neutrality? It is impossible. Women give birth. We are the psychic ground out of which humanity grows. Our wrath is the inverted power of our tender love. Our unprocessed pain bleeds into every relationship, and our unexamined shadows are now being called to run the world. Will we play out the Dark Queen's agenda, or will we choose to co-create a path that truly honors all organic life? Our true feminine energy is needed to ignite deep responsibility on all levels. It is a fountain of infinite fire, a catalyst for truth. It holds the real power to call out evil on all levels, to stand firm and say no more. It has the strength to stand up and stand for and not back down. This is what is needed. Not frightened women hiding behind unconscious motivations. For us, women, to fulfill our place as global leaders and solutionaries, we must alchemize our history. The feminine fierce shadow alchemize will provide stamina, endurance, real power, and longevity to sustain actions based on organic, life-promoting solutions. The feminine can save us, but only if we clear its distortions and heal the pain. It is our choice. What will you choose to co-create?
That is such a powerful, um, uh, insight, inner sight. Um, I I want to start by asking sort of basic questions. I know that we mentioned there you mentioned there the Dark Queen as an archetype, and is this also real? Is this
Yeah, she's
that at the top of this pyramid that what's running the world is a dark queen? That is, because as exopoliticians, we know about the war with the Orion Queens and how we humans had escaped that dictatorship, which was fierce. I mean, that was kind of our first taste with the Dark Queen, was the Orion Queens. So back over to
well,
you.
Alfred, I am an experiencer, and I'm not a Harvard graduate. I mean, I have a master's degree in psychology, but I am not an intellectual, and I'm not a researcher like Michael Tsarian or yourself or many of the people you've had on your show. What I have done is I've engaged in deep shadow diving for 40 years. And it is through she has shown up, particularly in the work with Aisha Love, who was my mentor and dear friend. She's on the other side now. But this came up in a session in New Zealand. Aisha was a huge proponent of the return of the divine feminine. And in this session, people, this is the shadow synthesis. I've taken much of her work and brought many of her approaches into my work that I call now shadow synthesis. She worked with the archetypes of the collective unconscious. So we would do the feeling states of animation that would excavate the entire subconscious and heal all of that. And I do that work with the quantum feeling states. Then she would go into the archetypes. And these being, we would start at midnight. We did this for weeks on end, and they would show up. And so we worked with direct experience, because also, whose history is the real history? What is true? What is not true? So you may have more information intellectually about who this Star Queen is than I do. All I can say is the female collective is a hive mind of feminine hatred that is part of the dark of the takeover of the archetypes that turn to the dark side for all this oppression. So, like at the top, from my direct experience, it is a reptilian queen. But then she has her counterpart as the top of the hierarchy, and then look who's in charge of the world, the world banking, the Fed, and then we go on and on. These women are coming into power all over, and they're, I'm not saying that they're clones, but in some ways, this infection is happening by activating the hatred and the wounding generationally, because this is in our DNA through our ancestors and all our past lives. This is this huge, roaring agony that is a huge feeding ground. So she's at the top, but it's, and but there are key other women, and I'm not saying they're all human, around the world that are feeding this agenda because it gives them huge power. You know, like these disgusting satanic rituals where you talked about on your last show, the walnut sauce or whatever. How, you know, the feminine hatred is their juice, is their cocaine, okay? And the more they build it, the more they collectively feed off of it, if that makes any sense. There's a hive female collective, and it comes for women. It is in moments of severe trauma. And as we're doing the shadow work and women are excavating their contracts and agreements to be part of these whole dark agendas, she's there just, you know, pushing every weakness, every unprocessed wound to try to hold on to them. I mean, so in shadow synthesis, we're dealing with this on a daily basis. But I can't give you who she is, what her lineage, you know, all of that. And there may be someone out there that has that information way better than I do.
Right. So yeah, so that's, but it's the basic insights that you're giving, in that there are multiple paradoxes and multiple deceptions built into this 3D matrix that we have been put through, where both the male and the female have been suppressed. I really like how you have shown there how the female has been suppressed and how the male has been suppressed as
And
well.
who were the men raised by? Every man has a mother. I'm sorry. And these women are trauma-based mind controlled into fulfilling the agenda of the construct, to deliver their children into the construct, to cut their source connection and their Gaia connection, to turn them into slaves. That's been women's role, and teachers' role, and priest role, and every authority figure's role. And women have to stop doing it. I mean, they send their children to those schools where they're sitting there getting shut down, and eventually just they're going to be courted and create a false self and go get a job in the matrix because they break under the weight of all of that suppression. And the mothers just dressing their children, giving them their little box lunches, send them off to those jails for children every day. Women are doing that.
So by identifying all that you have done and all that the spirit within you has done, where you say transforming the fierce feminine shadow as an act of sacred global alchemy. So as we're going through this process that's called ascension, which is the increase of frequency inside the universe container that we're in, which is a machine for soul development, what are your what sort of guidelines do you recommend, not only for women but for us men who have women inside of us? I mean, I'm a Gemini. We were talking about this before the program, and Gemini's two, you know, the two traditional, oops, I'm getting that echo again. But anyway,
sometimes that is when we're switching dimensions too.
yeah.
Stabilize the energy with my computer, but sometimes actually we have to go through that for a minute because we're shifting up frequency. See if it stabilizes. And also, we've just called out dark feminine globally, and this is not a topic that's really been discussed much. So I'm sure she's here with us and not so delighted, but we are stronger than that frequency. So just let's stabilize the love field, get more embodied, and we might be able to transit it.
So you're saying that there's an actual sentient conscious force that one can call the Dark Queen, which permeates and keeps this kind of matrix on the planet going, which is a false matrix because it appears as though it's run by men, but it's run by a Dark Queen. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying. And it's a hive mind. She doesn't have any energy. She's spiteful, possessive. She'd rather kill us all than lose us. I mean, she's really nasty. This is a nasty bitch. Make no mistake about it. And yes, and this hive mind is her fuel, which is all this negative lush, right? It's all the pain, it's all the suffering, it's all the satanic hell, it's all the torture. This is her food. And their food. I mean, it's also, you know, the Dracos and the Archons, and they're all in it together. But she's, you know, she's provided some yummy meals, so they've stuck with the program. Because women, even her, you know, we have the know-how about energy for however that got engineered. You know, we're the fuel, we're the battery because we have that, you know, connection because we give birth. So, and men have always had to plug into the feminine, and then their genius, their brilliance, their linearity, their ability to organize and structure and you know, get her done, is fueled by the energy. Now that shouldn't have to be, I'm not saying that that is the new paradigm, that's the old paradigm. Men will have every access to, men should have every access to source, be balanced as you're trying to be and are in yourself because you're aware of your feminine and the masculine and be connected. We can all reconnect to source. Men can reconnect to source, but it's a process of purification and healing to do that. This is not just a woman's show, but for now, women have had the real power because they have the power of life. Force.
Now, for example, you have these you have this course in shadow synthesis, which I think you wrote has 3 parts. Could you kind of walk us through how this course approaches the individual, say the student, and what occurs in this, and what's the process that happens there?
Yeah, I would love to because my teachers have been female, very wise women. Aisha Love, I've learned a lot from Anais, to be honest. I mean, I also love George Kavasik. I learned a lot from George. But the main ones in terms of the ones I spent a long, long time in they've created processes that help us to reconnect energetically with all the fractured, dissociated aspects of our energetic that have been splintered out of trauma-based mind control, because the war has been against our beingness, whether it's men or women, our feelings. I mean, you think about what's socially acceptable behavior. It's emotional capacity of emotional expression that's politically correct, about this much of our capacity. We are these gigantic, energetic, emotional, feeling beings. And our feelings connect us when we overcome our wounding to the universe, to our planet, to our knowing, to the power to be our source spark, to heal each other. It's the entire um, opening up our central channel, our bliss channel, and returning to source. Why do you think it's been targeted? That's our power. And men have really bought into that agenda by demonizing the feminine. In that way, they become compromised and lost their connection to source. Not totally, but they're heading that way. When you violate life, you lose your connection with life. You return to life by doing no harm. And that just doesn't mean intellectually. That means energetically, with every behavior, every thought, every feeling, and every emotion. That is the return. So the work that I do is from my study with women, several women avatars. So it's processing emotional energy at a very, it's not just kicking or screaming, and it's not just, tapping or moving something from one side of the brain to the other, although that's really helps a lot of people. Because why? Because our attachment to entities, to the Draco, we have contracts. We've made unconscious agreements at the time of a deep duress, sometimes in the womb and in infancy, and when we go into these torture hospitals and we're born and we're ripped away from our mothers and we're vaccinated and put in incubators, and we have no source connection, no nurturing, nothing to activate our sense of ourselves, and we fall into deep sense something horribly is wrong with us. And we don't believe in ourselves, and we think we're unlovable. And we pull in entities, and we pull in energies that are there for us when human beings are, when we're completely abandoned, and we get trapped in the prison construct. And what keeps us there is our contracts with the dark side and our emotional wounding. So the work that I do helps people. It's self-help. I consider myself a mama bear, a midwife, and I train other people to be midwives and mid-husbands. You got to get out of the way. We got to break this. I'm the doctor. I'm the know-it-all. I'm the guru. You got to learn from me. Even though people have a lot to learn from me. If you said, what was the one thing Asia taught you that was the most important? I would say it's to get out of the way and to have people in processes where they themselves can heal themselves without an outsourcing the authority, because that's part of the sickness. That makes sense to you?
Yes, I mean you're really uh, you know moving us through some very deep insights and processes that are quite healthy in my opinion.
Well, they are. I mean, what's happening, and I'm sure it's happening, hopefully it's happening other places in the world too. But in this work, people who come in who don't think they can feel anything, have no idea what their child was like, never felt a past life, can't go to other people to get their entities and implants removed because there's no way they could ever be are just pulling this stuff out. The feeling states that they do as part of the exercise are just bringing up the stuff in a gentle way, because it's so important to do this in a container of truth, trust, transparency, gentleness, kindness, and love. And self-love is the first principle. Because if you don't do it in a container of love, this kind of processing, this kind of woundedness, it could be re-traumatizing people. And I've been in a lot of therapies that re-traumatize me in the name of healing me. But that's another topic. Okay, so the shadow synthesis has 3 parts. And I understand this is, most of the time we run from our shadows. The entire culture is designed to make shadow taboo. Nobody has a dark side. You don't call out anybody for how horrible, how cruel they are. We all put on our faces. We're also nice and kind and good. And we all want to feel good and stay good. And all this other stuff is dissociated in our subconscious and our unconscious. And yet it's controlling us because it is being controlled by the dark side. And so we need to call it back home. We need to bring it all into our heart core, but energetically, we need to contact it. We need to feel it. And we need to embody it. Now that is, it's actually a really fun, dynamic, incredible process. I mean, it's also painful and hard and difficult, but we do it in community. Because why? What is their biggest tool? Separation. So just doing it in a dark room with a shrink and then being given drugs to suppress you and cut you off from source and cut you off from yourself in the name of fixing you so you can become a good worker in the system? No. This is about soul sovereignty, about you becoming you. And I do just want to say, there are people out there, and especially the young indigos and the star seeds, that are much more advanced than I am, and so many of us, and they're just being demonized. And that so needs to stop. These are the wisdom bearers. They've come from the Omniverse to be our leaders, and we're putting them on Ritalin, and we're vaccinating them, and we're locking them up, and we're telling them that if they don't fit into our prisons, that there's something wrong with them, and we're killing the future, and that needs to stop. So we need, I have a training program to train other people to do this. We need these healing sanctuaries where any of us, men, women, children, can come and process through this stuff. And is this a process that are unique? This is an organic process given to us by Gaia Sophia and Source. It's a process. As she's making her correction, she's offering this. It just happens. If we know how to create enough trust, enough of the love field, enough of the feminine to permit and allow and not manipulate and control and get our egos in the way and mess this up. So that's why the facilitators have to go through it first, because we will. I messed it up. Part of me wanted people to be free. Well, part of me screaming bitch when they get free, like, where are you going? You can be with it. So we got to clean up. We got enough be coming from our egos. And that's a cleanup job. The whole society is encouraging you to be an ego, to be a selfie. Narcissistic personality disorder is the default setting for America. So, we have a cleanup job. Okay, let me just be a brief overview of the course. 3 parts. The first part is Shadow Synthesis 1. It's every Saturday morning for 6 weeks, where I've done, me and Adrian does all the technical aspects for Rise. We've created these really lovely videos. I've made them as gentle as possible, dealing with these harsh realities. So we watch a video for 10, 20 minutes, and then we start fleshing this out. We start sharing, and it's just gentle. It's not like come rip open your soul and dump your shadow. It's too terrifying to do that. So we spend 6 weeks just looking at what is shadow, what is the primary imprint from our childhood, what are our past life shadows, and how does interference and targeting deal with every level of this? What shadows did our ancestors carry, and how do we carry them, and how do we heal that? And our subpersonalities, and how does that work? Each week is breaking down a multidimensional aspect, because shadow is multidimensional. We can't just do shadow work in 3D with a persona that is not even where the war is being waged or can be won. This is all in the unconscious. It's all been hidden cleverly, of course. So then, like last time, 17 people joined the course, Shadow Synthesis 1, and 7 went on to do the actual shadow work. So shadow synthesis, which is understandable, it's not a fit for everybody, it's not right timing for everybody, and so forth. So 7 brave warriors went on. It's a 6-month then commitment. And what happened is within the inner work community. So you work, we have, I'm crazy. I have 4-hour-long sessions. I don't go by the book, by the clock. I can't. I have to let the energy flow. People have to be heard. People have to be, we're stuffing this stuff, and we almost never even had anyone, ourselves included, to even hear what's really going inside of us. The abuse we've suffered, the wounds that we carry, the insanity we've lived through. So all this has to come out like poison, like vomit, has to come out, and we hold space for each other. We learn, and that's a lot of the healing, because now we're not alone. That person is as messed up as I am. Oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one that went through this hell. Everyone in this room has been through their own form of hell. And so we hold each other, but not in codependency. and we learn how to do it. We don't fix each other. We don't advise each other. We don't jump in. We just let it happen. We do these exercises, surface our stuff. We do it in partners. They partners through the whole process. So they're working all during the week. And then I do more. I bring new information every time. You know, we break down the ego. The first thing is we face the level of ego, because the ego is the point of command for all of the darkness, and the ego will fight to the end, because the ego is losing its job, right? But when we do it with enough love and enough soul force comes in, the ego can be repurposed, and those aspects don't really die; they just get repurposed. But it is the hero's journey, you know, with all the forces of darkness within, because some of our subpersonalities have been completely taken over by demons and have turned into demons, and they will fight us. Everything that has been in charge of us will fight for its control, and we need to know how to love it all to death. And so we do that together, and this stuff moves. And what happens is that the final destination is wholeness. And I have studied the work of Anais Salas in this regard, and her incredible soul source essences, which we find to be a great tool, and her work with the templates. I also incorporate and give her full credit for, because why? Her work with the templates is absolutely key, because it is, she calls it the Lego, and I can't speak for her, but anyway. The Lego system, it's the prison fence, it's all the pieces. She's broken it down, and our pain and suffering and wounding has us endlessly looping within the construct, within the prison state, internally. This stuff lives in us as us, it's not just out there. So when we clean this up and we surface it all, then we bust out of the gates, and we quantum jump into our wholeness. We incorporate everything. We move into 5D and beyond. We birth the new human. We're no longer a target, because we're not in the energetic frequency that's being targeted. And she's brilliant at some of the advanced courses. She has the conscious co-creation class. So we clean up all the shadow stuff, and then I send a lot of my clients to her for some of this advanced working with source to clean up the whole plan. I mean, there's once you get this, your source spark. Now your source spark has the chance to really mature, and the sky's the limit of what we're going to be able to do, and what we can do, and who we truly are. And okay, so then part 3 is a year-long training for you to finish your movement to wholeness. You call that ascension, call it what you want. Then you learn to become a midwife or husband, hold the space for others. Whether you become a shadow synthesist, or a healer, or a mother, or a school teacher, you have a huge set of tools to understand the real nature of what's going on, so that you can be, it's called, it's a year-long course in training to be a transformational catalyst. Okay, so I'm done. And that's just starting. I'm just writing that like in between interviews and stuff. It's so exciting though, because other people can do it, and I can sip margaritas in Cuba. Well, Cuba's not so great anymore, but somewhere. Anyway, I'm really old now, but I'm going to stay long enough to really train people so this thing can grow, because I've been given it by Gaia, and she wants the call to go out globally. We know it's not everybody, but there's so many people trapped in the construct that really would move out of it if they knew there was even a possibility.
Well, yeah. Now we had a dialogue in the sense that before the show, we both reached a conclusion, and we've invited you, and you've accepted to bring shadow synthesis to the new launch of Omniversity, which is happening in the fall-winter semester of 2018. I would love to
be a part of that. And Rise Multiversity, we have a number of mentors, Alfred, Anna is included, and some other incredible ones. And we have a whole bunch of webinars and all about all this stuff. And we could talk about how, I mean, obviously we want to spread this as many seeds as possible. So
right.
my course, but hopefully many people's courses.
Yeah, yeah. So this could, because the inspiration, this is just to talk a bit about the kind of the infrastructure of this new kind of portal. You know, I call Omniversity a portal to the Omniverse, and it's universe, multiverse, Omniverse. The universe was first, quote, discovered around 3500 BC by the Sumerian astronomers. These are the way that, you know, kind of the mainstream way that human science understands the cosmos. So the universe was that organic unit of creation that we said, oh, we're in our universe. But mainstream science won't even give you the name of the universe. You know, we're in a solar system and we're in a galaxy called the Milky Way, but what's the name of the universe? Oh, and then in 1895, American scientists and all around ace, William James, discovered the multiverse, or really put, you know, said this is the totality of universes, of parallel and or perpendicular universes, because part of the scientific cover-up of the atomic bomb scientists led by Einstein and Heisenberg and others was to cover up the discovery of the perpendicular universe and to say it's all parallel universes so they could make stuff that explode and promote the Anunnaki reptilian agenda headquartered in Israel, Babylon, Jesuit land.
Mm-hmm.
And Einstein was part of that cover-up. We're discovering, according to people,
no, really?
yeah, people who specialize in the parallel universe. He covered up the parallel universe, and that's why we had the atomic bomb, and that's why we're in this thing. And if he'd gone into the perpendicular universe, which is where things are in the future, and it's the positive timeline, because we're in a universe now where you're looking at things from the view of the past, not from the view of the future. So it's really amazing, this stuff. Now, so we're breaking out of, I mean, the conundrums and the machines that we're breaking out of are just huge. So in 2014, you had two different scientists write in different parts of the planet write a book called The Omniverse, which was the discovery of the Omniverse. David Bertolacci and Alfred Webre wrote two different books in two different parts and discovered the Omniverse. The Omniverse equation is Omniverse equals multiverse, that is all the universes of the multiverse plus spiritual dimensions, which is the intelligent civilization of souls, spiritual beings, and source, and which the universes and the universities won't let you study, because the universes are created by the spiritual dimensions as machines for soul development. So soul development, souls from the spiritual dimensions go into the universes, create the universes and incarnate in them to develop. And I hear that echo again, so I
Let
must
me
be.
mute while you're talking. That may help.
Okay, let's see. And so, yep, it does. And so, in the same way that you needed a university to study the universe, now you need an Omniversity to study the science of the Omniverse. And, you know, here I was the last 20 or so years knocking on the doors of the university saying, oh, here's this great multi-dimensional curricula. And they were saying, oh, Alfred, you're 100 years ahead of your time. We can't do that. There's no way, you know? And it's all yes, but we can't. And of course, because there are universities designed to study universes. And if you wanted to get into multi-dimensionality, well, the Dark Queen's universe made it so that you either had to join an intelligence agency or a black ops corporation, or become a Jesuit or a rabbi in the synagogue of Satan, or one of those secret societies. And then you would get into the dark side of multidimensionality only. And then you had to be a light worker on your own private time, right? Isn't that it?
Oh, well, yeah, those universities are there to lock people into the construct, nothing more.
Yeah, exactly. So Omniversity is a new institution. So we're so grateful that we were able to Confluence meet with you and then launch into this new semester in the fall, winter of 2018, because that's where the fierce feminine shadow that's in all of us. I'm a Gemini, and the two characters inside of Gemini are Castor and Pollux. And I was sharing with you that, you know, as a result of my gender awareness work, I call one of my two guys in there Castorina, because she's a gay female. And the other Pollux is a very straight male, you know. So,
yeah, it definitely would be
you know, so
accepted.
you have these, it's nothing, has nothing to do with acting out sexually, which is just, you know, part of the American culture, where it's like, that's how they get the consumerism. Sex is just another consumer product in the United States. And I mean, I think so, right? And
Time and another huge feeding vat for all of this.
yeah,
Perversion.
and right. This has to do with consciousness, how the female principle looks at consciousness, the male principle, etc. And and so I'm really excited about that. That is really kind of opening a new portal uh, to so tell us about Rise Multiversity. How did it come about? What is Rise? What is Rise Multiversity? It's at Rise multiversity.org.
Well, okay, and you may have to mute now, but I think we'll be fine. Let's see
Yeah,
how.
we're fine.
So, I created. First of all, I did about 100 radio shows over 3 years, and what my guidance, because I am connected to Gaia, my guidance was, all right, enough being a talking head. Get out there and midwife transformation in others, because I need this to happen inside the people. Enough of them just listening to your information. Please do something different. So, in response to that ask, I created an online educational platform that I hope that now I'm intending to do retreats and live things globally, because we need to also meet and share this, because that's a different dimension of healing. But right now, it's been online, and it's a research, because, you know, I'm not a know-it-all. I am a wisdom keeper and a facilitator, but we all have pieces for this. A lot of you listening know so much more than I do and have pieces. So we're supposed to be cultivating the voice of humanity, unblocking and bringing forth information. So we originally, George Kavaslis was on quite a bit, Tom Montauk, Aloda Leon was on, Eve Lorgan at the beginning, many people that were, we did a 3-part series called Alien Interference in the Days of Our Lives. And we had roundtables, we had discussions, and some really great information. And that's all on Rise. And we're happy to joint venture affiliate partner with you and other educational platforms, because this has got to spread now. And we also have hangout cafes where the whole idea is to come out of separation. You know, we have the star seeds, you know, we're the super early indigos, Alfred, but there's so many awakened souls, and they're under poverty, sickness, oppression, targeting, terrified to come out. So we have the cafes. Anais had the Wake Up Cafe, where we just watched movies, ate popcorn, but I mean, they were really great movies with huge meaty content where we could just share. And it's so hard for people to do that, you know, when they first come on, Alfred. I mean, everybody's camera's off, everybody's muted, you know, it's just those of us that have broken through and done this enough that we're okay on camera. And little by little they come on and they start sharing, and it's the most heartwarming thing, because we're meeting our soul family. We're meeting our brothers and sisters from around the world, hearing their journeys and encouraging them. I mean, I have all kinds of ideas of where we could take Rise, but I'll tell you what we have so far, because I think it could be so much more than it is. But so we have courses now. We have various courses where people, the whole intention is to come out of separation and to start speaking our truth, revealing who we really are, healing ourselves, gaining and sharing information, you know, working. I would like to extend it, especially with the 5G call to action, as we continue those, to create action groups and small groups in the world, where people go to their local authorities and they take the outer action, because it isn't all just about doing inner work. I mean, please don't get me wrong. We have a massive job to do here. But if we're terrified, if we're in reactivity, if we can't speak, if we're sick, if we're so highly targeted that we can't get out of bed, we're not going to be able to do that. So it's time to come together. And there's small groups, and we're just trying to build that the sacred matrix, not the space fence and the artificial construct, a field of love and connection. And very encouraging of other people to come forward and become mentors and offer their things. And so that's what we've been doing. It's been about 5 years now. And it's been a haven. It's been a haven for you know, we're not gigantic yet by any means, but it has been a very tender-hearted haven. And I'm so grateful for everybody who's put in the effort to make it happen. And we've had a lot of conflict, and we've had a lot of interference, and a lot of people fell by the wayside, and we've been highly targeted. Everybody is, you know, like they come in with this, the voice of God technology. I mean, when we did the alien interference in the days of our lives, I didn't know enough about psychic shielding. I got abducted. Everybody started hating each other. You know, people were blaming me for being queen bitch. I mean, everything in the kitchen sink has happened to train wreck us. Alfred, don't get me wrong. This hasn't been a walk in the park. But somehow, I am just such a stick in the... I have this Siberian DNA, ancient DNA. So I keep on getting back on the horse. And so does Adrian. And so do a few others that are still with us. But it has been glorious and incredibly challenging.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, fairly soon as we get into the next months, and today is July 31st, and this will be out later today. Now you're starting a training tomorrow, August 1st, correct? Shadow synthesis.
Well, the next people can contact me. I offer a free chat, or they can email me, or they can go to Rise or shadowsynthesis.com, and you know, just reach out. And then usually we talk and we decide where we're going to go. Now, the next fully booked one is in October, Shadow Synthesis, but that could change. If a bunch of people show up, I'll start one in September. I'll start one in August again. But the
Right.
next Shadow Synthesis one, but it's also a standalone course. You can buy it. You can do it with private sessions. There are a lot of ways to work it. So if you're interested, contact, read the information, go to shadowsynthesis.com to the course, read about it. And then if it resonates, it's a free talk just to see if it's a fit, if I'm the best fit, or if one of the other mentors on Rise is a better fit for you right now. I'm happy to do that because people need that, the connection to make sense of if this is really.
Yeah, and it's funny because at Rise you have this model of mentorship, individual mentorship, and at EXO University, which it was like a pilot project from 2010 to 2012, and then we were the subject of this mysterious archonic attack. It's like it was really going really good, and then all of a sudden, if you went there, students would, instead of getting the course, they would get a pornographic site. Isn't that weird? It's like if archons just suddenly attacked it, and then we just said, boom. But now it feels like we're on the other side of, we've cleared enough of the negative off of the planet that we can start again. However, it was more in an academic kind of a construct, so that maybe we can have this symbiotic relationship between Rise and Omniversity, where people come in to Omniversity more it's more of an online learning environment. Like one of the plans is to have a thing called omniverse.cc, and it's a virtual environment, so you can go in there and experience the Omniverse. You don't have to wait till you die and then reincarnate and go in and pass through all the portals and stuff. But no, we have enough knowledge. People are interested. You can go to universebooks.com, and I have a book there called The Dimensional Ecology of the Omniverse. It's all research-based, and you can actually learn about all these various passages of the information, like how your soul decided to come here, what you're doing here, and how long you can be here, and then, and then ascension cycles, and then deciding on, how you go out. And it's all through teleportation and telepathy are the key kind of modes in the Omniverse. You teleport to the portal from the spiritual dimensions. You teleport to the portal in the universe, the portal exactly where you are, to the portal right next to your mother's womb about 3 months before birth. And then you sort of get into her rhythms, and you go in and you actually embed into the fetus in there. Your soul does. And then you're in there for about 3 months, and then you come out. And this is all basic science research. This is the science of the Omniverse, which is suppressed. You can't get it taught in universities. Why? Because that's not part of the universe. So that's why we're forming the Omniverse.
That's fantastic.
And so that I see that there's a relationship, because people could go in and start studying these, like studying Life After Death 101 in Omniversity, but it begins to trigger all their memories. So they start shaking in class or something. So then they would go over to Rise to have a course to really deal with the shadow, all their previous incarnates or any shadow beings that are kind of stuck there, and really get clear. Does that sound like kind of a way that our two institutions could kind of like
absolutely
interact?
about this actually from Anais, the funnel, because I've been so in woo-woo land. I wasn't very into the funnel, but people need bite-sized pieces. They need a little dose of something. Maybe it's in their head where they get it, because we're dealing with a culture that all of these inner things, even though it's all coming online and people know what's happening, they're still programmed to be in their head and programmed that it's very scary to be anywhere else. So we have to take them uh, on that journey, and then as the next layer surfaces, then they have an interest, and then take them a little bit further. Like Shadow Synthesis 1 is a discussion group, but and then when they feel okay, I'm gonna try this, then they start the shadow diving, and that's a very kind and gentle and loving approach.
Yeah, so that could be a course that people are taking in parallel while they're taking the more formal courses at the Omniversity side of things, which are more traditionally academic, like sort of knowledge based as opposed to process based. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
The male and the female, isn't it?
Yeah.
The divine masculine and the divine feminine. They'll both of those educational perspectives would be present, and that's perfect, because we want to unite the two. We don't want to say women good, man bad. No, we need to do that.
Yeah. So I think that it would really be to the benefit of everything, and very good.
Education is the thing, and now we need to, and we can't. I don't think we're going to be able to do it in the current system, because it's mind control, focused on the exact opposite outcome that our hearts are devoted to.
Oh yeah, I mean it just and it's devoted to cover up. I mean, if you look at the Einstein College of Medicine, named after Albert Einstein, I mean, what I learned in the last 3 months from our interviews on the perpendicular universe, people can go to News Inside Out and see our interviews with Aurora Light and Bill Alec on the perpendicular universe. And it is absolutely astounding. All you hear about in string theory, which they're promoting, is parallel universes, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, Oppenheimer and the atomic bomb, Einstein. It was all a plot to maybe even blow up the world, at Earth, in the same way that they blew up Tiamat and they blew up Mars in this solar system. No, I mean, I'm saying that those are the exopolitical plots, out in the cosmos that we've uncovered, and that we're dealing with. And these are sort of the sub-themes that are going on.
I mean, that's a great thing. You have in some way normalized what most people wouldn't even entertain, by consistently being present as you have and building your audience. Probably hundreds of thousands of people now look at this stuff like, oh yeah, that exists. Whereas,
oh, listen, we have 10 million views. I mean, I'm telling you.
It's fantastic. And now we do need to come together and give what's needed for all of us to rise together.
Yeah. So this has really been a confluence, and there's a tremendous amount of synchronicity, but also symbiosis, being together, and this streams that have come together, because you and I did not plan this. It just kind of happened, right?
Well, it's amazing.
I mean,
I didn't even, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
this conversation was possibly happening somewhere in each of our minds somewhere, but it sort of blossomed just in the couple of hours prior to airtime, where we really went, wow, let's look at something real here, because this is necessary. And the two parts, the sum total of the two parts are much larger than the two parts independently. Isn't that when you bring symbiosis together, you create something that's much larger? Isn't that it? Something
I'm
like that.
feeling it energetically. It's huge. It's off the charts, and it's very beautiful. The potential, if we move in integrity,
Yeah.
grounded, step-by-step fashion, and bring everything we have and all the resources and people we have, this could really be an amazing portal for people to do what they need to do, to learn what they need to learn, to become potent change catalysts where they are in their lives. And this is what we need to bring the real tools and understanding massively, because you know what we're up against right now.
Yeah. Well, the October 1st date is really synchronous, because that's when, about the time that we had looked at launching the fall winter semester at Omniversity. And if this is a combined Omniversity Rise Multiversity semester, where you have, like you said, you have these two halves coming together, to deal with the two, different spheres. One, the more formal level, the other processing out your own shadow, all of the incarnate shadows, all the entities that come and, try to hitch a ride on you. I mean, for me, all the entities that have tried to hitch a ride on me in this lifetime, they're what has occupied most of my energy, when my energy really has been focused on trying to bring something to the planet to leave it in a more elevated state. I mean, the last book I wrote is called My Journey Landing Heaven on Earth, Part 1. And you can get it at Universe Books, by the way. But that's like where I'm coming from. But the energy that I've had to expend is really about all these entities hitching a ride on my energy, trying to bring it down or trying to like distort it. And that's all that they do. They're parasitical. So is the shadow a parasite? Is the Red Queen a parasite? Are we dealing with parasites? Like when we got into AI, it's the study of the PPAI, the sentient invading off-planet pathogenic predatory artificial intelligence. Now, that's like a parasite. Is the Red Queen a parasite?
Very cleverly engineered. First, they broke our spirits, making us fracture and not believe in ourselves. Because to fight these parasites, we need to be strongly embodied with our real energy, our real connection to source, planet, and our true essence, that is so powerful that they can't get in. When we shore up the leaks in our field, they can't penetrate. We have the potential for fully not be experiencing these attacks at all. They're only entering in our holes, in our wounds, in the places that are leaking our life force. So in a way, they're our teachers, aren't they? I know that I believe that both that many of the mentors at Rise hold this idea that in our wholeness, in our sovereignty, our energetic, grounded and embodied sovereignty, we are invincible. And this is what we must learn. I mean, healing shadows is shoring up the leaks in our field, because these vulnerabilities open us to being harvested. So they've worked on us from a number of angles. They've made their food vulnerable enough that we keep bending over and letting them have their way with us. So that part needs to be shored up. And then understanding exactly how they are attacking, exactly how to say no and get them out is the other piece. But if we don't know they're there, how are we going to get them out? And most people would think we were whack jobs still on this planet for even having this discussion.
Right. So one has to concurrently do shadow work with light work. It's a concurrent thing.
Oh, yeah, you have to. You can't just dump people into the dark. First of all, that's why the first 6 weeks, at least, are building love, the field of love, opening and having that so strongly present that now we can surface the darkness, and then we have to understand how to alchemize. But we are done with duality. This dimension was engineered as a lockdown harvest zone, prison planet. Duality, I believe, is the prison blueprint. The only way we have to get out of here energetically. And that doesn't mean it has to be the event. And I'm not putting down any of the eventers, or there are all these exit strategies, and some great people have all kinds of stories and narratives around what's going to happen. All I know is that when we synthesize and build the strength back, our organic strength, we move into our wholeness. Some people, we grow bigger to embrace everything. And in that place, we take no you know what. We don't let it in. Now, I'm not totally there yet. I know some people that seem way more there than I am, but I know enough people who are there to know that it is the destination. And the more I become that, and I am more each day, and whatever brings me down is something I have to face and alchemize. Wherever, if I get knocked out, it's something I haven't seen in myself. Now, it may be a big old mad demon that just locked into that fractured part of my heart that I don't want to face, some truth there that I haven't excavated. And I can say, oh, I'm just attacked. Oh, somebody, I need an exorcist. I need somebody to get this off of me. And it gets off. And then tomorrow night it's going to come back in, because this part is going, help, come save me. And these things numb out the pain body. They're like cocaine, they're like heroin, or they're like a drug. So these dissociated subs are reaching out to the interference, like we take their drugs to kill us so we don't have to feel the pain. That's what these entities are. You kind of deal with these entities. And until we can make a better deal directly with our souls and life, this is what we do. But we don't even know we're doing it.
Wow. Well, and all of this out of your work, which is amazing to me, came the Abort 5G, band DEW panel, the Rise Multiversity panel, which was really
actually Anais Solis's idea. She has been a partner and a mentor with us. She does her own things too, but actually it was her idea. Right then I was under a lot of attack. I was going through massive EMF toxic allergy, and she got it right from Gaia. She said, we got to do this. And I got immediately, that's what we have to do. But if she had not been, led that charge, we wouldn't have that. I am so grateful to be a part of that. And
oh yeah.
But I can't take responsibility. That wasn't my idea.
Well, but it was Rise Multiversity, right?
Well, with Living Lessons Library, that's her website.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
We were collaborating. It was a collaboration.
Collaboration. So collaboration seems to be more and more the modality of this new
Yes.
way of this new reality in this universe, multiverse, omniverse that we are now awakening to and co-creating in is collaboration, which is, going back to the Latinate rules, laborare, collaborare, to work together. And that sounds like what we're doing is we're collaborating.
Yes, and you don't lose your identity. We're
Mhm.
sovereign, free, containers and people that agree to join forces for the betterment of all. And it's coming out of separation. This is what they do not want to have happen.
Yeah, and it's not the pyramid. Uh, it's not the Mystery Babylon pyramid, which is everything goes up to the top where you got the all-seeing eye, and then you've got a bunch of Jesuits and rabbis or whoever, then the monarchies and all that stuff, and then the slaves at the bottom, which is obliterating free will. This is, as you said, the collaborating of sovereign entities. Each of us is a sovereign soul that enters into this environment, into this holographic virtual experience with a lot of forethought. I mean, we spend a lot of time pre-planning these. We have a lot of courses and pre-planning classes, so we recognize each other. Our guides are involved. It's a huge amount of investment by the spiritual dimensions, by the multiverse in this. It's really it's what we call the dimensional ecology of the omniverse, which by the way, the three letters of that is DEO, dimensional ecology of the omniverse. In Latin, that's Deo, which means God. Isn't that cool?
That is very cool. That is so cool. And this needs to be fun. We need to create playgrounds. The Bliss channel is that which will build enough charge to blast us out of the construct. And we do that through connection, through honoring, through love, through our co-creations with one another. So and the whole idea of having it be fun again, which is brings our energy in a frequency where it can't be harvested. They can only harvest that we're depressed and anxious and terrified and wounded and all of this hell that they have created for us. And we're programmed with that whole Western culture that we're not supposed to be all about ourselves, even though now we're on the other dimension of ego swim with our selfies and our narcissism. But deep down we feel like we're never supposed to toot our own horn. We're not really supposed to be having orgasms. We're not supposed to really be having fun with each other. We're not really supposed to be feeling good. And that is the healing. And that is when we come together and collaborate in joy, in bliss, and co-creative fun like this, then we're going to be unstoppable. And we have to get to that. Each sovereign soul needs to realize, this happened a couple of nights ago. A source came into my heart core essence and gave me a mantra. What was it? Bliss is my natural state.
Oh,
It was like a mantra that I said over and over, and it was just opening to more. And I could feel all the little fragments. I'm not supposed to be happy. I'm just all here by myself, and that's not right. Like, and like, no, this is the new normal. This is your default setting. I mean, I have Jewish DNA, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, life is so horrible. You're never supposed to anything good could even happen to you. And if you do, you have to throw salt over your shoulder so that the debucks don't come and curse you. So, I mean, there's a whole story, there's a whole other show about being a Jew. But that was my program, because that's how my ancestors got to deal with the dark side. You stay under the radar. You don't make waves. You don't bring the truth frequency, which is a love frequency. And it's outside of ego. It's really an organic love with all that is frequency, and being that, embodying that. Then we step into service. I mean, this is these courses are dealing with the deepest, darkest stuff. I love the work that I do because I get to be myself, and I get to be a holding space for other people to emerge as the beautiful soul source light that they are through all the pain, the suffering, and the reality of all that. But still, to me, this is like way fun. This is the funnest thing. Being out there in the construct where you're, hello, how are you? Nice day. Everything's suppressed, control, no connection. And we're trying to screw each other, compete with each other, talk bad about each other, fight each other. It's like so not fun.
Wow. You know, this has just gone by so quickly. We're moving into the almost a 2-hour mark now. So I wanted to ask you, is there anything that you had wanted to say or bring up that you haven't had the opportunity to? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I suppose this is where I have to say things like about my book and stuff. So I'm just so excited right now. You could just jump for joy, and I'm practically speechless. But I'm sure I'll come up with something. Hang on. Okay, so yeah, if any of this resonates and you want to play in my playground, reach out to me, or go sign up for the course, or look at the website and all of that. Also, today only for a special deal, we have the second edition of my book. If you buy the first edition of my book, which is on the Rise website, you will get for free the new audiobook when it's out, and that should be shortly. And the new edition with the Fierce Feminine and some of the other cool things and student writings and everything. So you get the free new edition, buy the first edition, go to the website and read Stealing the Moon, and that will like blow your socks off or whatever, because it's a very deep dive. It's a story of my moving from being a dark sister and seeing what all that really involved. It exposes Nefertiti and Akhenaten, and it goes all the way back to Egypt. And it's wild and crazy. And I had an amazing mentor who helped me write it from female soul force. So it's a very transformative read. And yeah, other than that, shadowsynthesis.com, risemultiversity.org. And I love you all. And I'm just so grateful that you have kept this torch alive all this time, Alfred. You are such an amazing being. I'm really so grateful to be here with you today, and for you to be so open to this material, because it hasn't been that way for a very long time.
Well, I think that we have reached that time sync, you know, that synchronization in time, where it is time now.
Yes.
And I look forward after this program. This will be going out, and you'll be getting all the links, and we'll be spreading it out there. So, and hopefully people who have eyes to see and ears to listen and mouths to speak, speak
Yes,
good
exactly.
things, speak about the positive future.
Right on. It is. And
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so
they'll be
so
motivated, and I look forward to talking with you and with Multiversity, and maybe we'll have a big Zoom meeting of the Rise and the Omniversity board and faculty, and we'll all get together and we'll say, look, this is the vision, let's do it this way. And then we'll all manifest in September, and it'll just be manifested, and then that's it, it's done. Yeah, I look forward to that. That's it.
Wow, yeah. There's amazing energy with this.
It is happening. It is happening. I want to thank you so much. You and Anais have really transformed my world. I was out there, oh, let's get this treaty conference going, let's get this model statute going, and then all of a sudden swooped in and brought in, you know, more of the cosmos, and now we're bringing in yet more of the cosmos, and it's great. So I really appreciate everything that you've done. And now you've enrolled us and made us aware of transforming the fierce feminine shadow as an act of sacred global alchemy, and that's what we'll be doing along the journey as well. So thank you.
Yes, please.
Bueno.
Anais has a phrase, yes, please, thank you more. Yes.
And so thank you very much, and hasta la próxima, as they say,
Okay.
until the next one.
Much love, Alfred.
Thank you.